Taking Williamson Act as a constituency that cuts across a lot of different spectrums, both from the ag community, from the environmental community. It is Williamson Act it helps us with good planning. So I don't necessarily see the energy there. I think it's one of those tactics that the governor throws out, in my opinion, and kind of the overall scare tactic, because there is no practical way to take a 10% reduction. What that just means is the county gets 10% less revenue from Williamson Act. That's really the practicality of it.
Yeah, but one of the problems is the Williamson Act contract is between the landowners and the county. It's not between the landowners and the state. So the state can just opt out of it. You know, that don't opt the county out of our contract. So I'm just saying, so it can end up being a budget issue for that. If the state says we don't want no more Williamson Act, the way I see it, they can get out of it. You know, because the contracts are between the county and the landowners. So if the state opts out of it, not only are they going to not give the subvention, they're going to want the difference in the property tax. And they say, Mendocino County, if you want to stay in the Williamson Act, that's fine, but we still want the difference in property. I just think it's a pretty, not a major budget issue, but it's a significant budget issue that I think, because frankly, I don't have that much confidence that the state's heading for a wreck. I mean, their deficit's in the billions and rising every day. It's not, you know, and it's going to get worse because these assessed valuations aren't going up. They're not leveling off. They're going down. Not so much in Mendocino County. I think we're a little bit going to be buffered somewhat against that. But when you look at the rest of the state, I mean, I see assessed valuations, properties are selling for a third of what and half of what they were even 2 years ago. So I think that's something that we need to consider. But to say that the state can't do that or they can't do that, my opinion of the state of California in the next 6 months, they're going to be grasping for a lot of things, because this $1.1 billion that they've made in cuts isn't even a tip of the iceberg in what their deficit projections are, and they're going to be, you know, they're on the hunt for money. And I just think this Williamson Act is an area that they can. I think we need to be aware of that, because I think
Well, you're correct, and it's one of those. What I was attempting to say was that it is a direct general fund hit, because it's not as though there's a program that we could reduce at the county level to offset that reduction in revenues. So Williamson Act is a pure revenue to the county, and if it goes away, it will force us to cut in other areas not related to the Williamson Act. So you're correct.
And that was part of the pain that I referred to in my opening comments as a possibility across the board for the county. So, yes, let's proceed.
Right. I was just going to say I can give you more information on if we go on to our state budget impacts. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the actual mid-year budget reductions. On January 10th, when the governor did his January 10th, 2008-09 budget proposal, he kind of split this process into two parts, looking at this year's impacts and how he could reduce, look at the state's budget and reduce expenditures and increase revenues, and looking at the 2008-09 budget. So for the mid-year budget reductions, the governor is proposing the sale of $3.3 billion in economic recovery bonds. And as our CEO had reported out earlier, there really hasn't been any other additional key highlights reported out yet. So our assumption is that we're not going to know exactly what these impacts are and what is going to happen with us locally here until the May revise, if we don't have anything sooner than that. Overall, the state is proposing in the mid-year budget reductions to delay payments for Mendocino County for approximately $5 million for departments affected. Although this could potentially force counties to front money from the state, and now counties are being hit with further delays. Mental health is one of the departments where they've continually had to face delays in payments for Medi-Cal payments from the state, and now the state is proposing furthering those delay in payments. For our trans borrowing purposes, Mendocino County really has a minimal or zero overall cash flow borrowing impact, although there will be some additional interest in borrowing the money. It could be approximately a loss of $300,000 to us in cash flow trans borrowing. We typically borrow our money at the beginning of the fiscal year, and we can float any delays in payments through the county and through our county treasury. So that is exactly probably what we'll end up doing. So this county will not have to borrow any further money from our trans or make any further loans for these delays in payments. As a summary, though, most of our payments and delays are in our HSA budgets. Going down the list here, as you have already in your packets, we have 2 months delay in disbursements for the social services, SSI, and Social Security payments, and IHSS. The impact to Mendocino County is $2.5 million. A 1 to 5 month delay in the gas tax disbursements, which as of February 14th, I kind of added that at the very end of your document here. I got an update from the state, and there is going to be a local gas tax temporary delay from April through July, and that payment will be repaid in September. Local governments are asking for a solid guarantee that this will be reimbursed by the state back to the local governments. In the meantime, for Mendocino County, DOT is going to be floating their cash basically through the Prop 1B funding that has just been dispersed by the state. We expect to get and receive $2.6 million from Prop 1B funding. So, and also, as a normal historical factor, and for your FYI, the local gas tax event, it has also, typically come in 2 or 3 or 4 months late anyway. So it really isn't that big of an impact to Mendocino County in that respect. Although using these funds as they are intended is, not, we were supposed to be using these funds as they were intended for special projects, not for operating expenses or just paving roads, et cetera.
Supervisor Pinchot.
Yeah, that's the real problem, because the Prop 42 is basically, that can be used for maintenance or payroll and things like that. But the bond money has to be done for projects, which basically is going to go out into contracts.
Right. Well,
so
we're
in order
not
to do the contracts, we've got to write the checks for the contracts, but we still need the cash and we can't use that.
We're
bond
just
funding
floating
money.
the cash. We're not using the money for anything other than what it was intended to use.
But the problem, and the Department of Transportation Director has always taken a real conservative approach and not getting into what you call a restricted, not a restricted reserve, but to basically, like you say, float the expenditures ahead of time. And the problem you get into in this county, some counties not. In Southern California, they can do construction projects year-round. But in this county, whether it's chip seal or those projects, they're only spring and summertime. We have a construction season, so in effect, we're probably going to lose a whole construction season because of the state's fiasco.
Thank you.
And that's not good.
Okay, and a delay of 4 weekly check writes for Medi-Cal fee-for-service. This basically is impact to Mendocino County is zero, but it impacts our local hospitals or providers. Most of these delays in payments are going to primarily basically impact our local hospitals or providers, with the exception of our 1 to 2 month delay in making the first quarterly payment to counties for the Medi-Cal administration. This impact to Mendocino County is $1 million.